Cool. Yasmin, whenever you're ready.
Hello and welcome to the launch event of UTS Tech Soc's annual Big Project. I'm Yasmin and I'll be your host for this evening. Tonight we're lucky enough to be joined by three industry representatives from Aginic, Anna Frenchen, James Lee and Jordan Sampieri, who will be running you all through the first workshop after our launch. We're so excited to have you all on board this year and we can't wait to see what projects come out of the initiative. Hopefully everyone is doing well and you're all ready to kick off your projects. Before we officially start, on behalf of UTS Tech Society, I would like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, upon whose ancestral lands our city campus now stands. I would also like to pay respect to the elders, both past and present, acknowledging them as the traditional custodians of knowledge for this land. Some housekeeping before we begin. Please ensure that your microphone is muted for the duration of the workshop, unless you've been asked to speak, just to ensure there's no background noise during the presentation. Also, it isn't forced, but is highly encouraged that you turn your cameras on, as some of the activities later will require you to have them on. Tonight, we'll be giving an overview of the program and going through the problem statements for this year's project. Following this, we'll have our very first workshop run by industry reps from Aginic. Then we'll end with a Q&A session with our industry guests. Additionally, this session will be recorded so that you and any participants who couldn't make the launch tonight can look back at the key points later. So, why the big project? Well, it gives you an opportunity to utilize your skills, both technical and soft, to work on a passion project which will give you a tangible product at the very end. This is something you can put straight into your portfolio, which will be very useful when applying for jobs or internships. Because these opportunities have been a lot more competitive as of recently, it's more important than ever to stand out in the application process. You can also continue to actually flesh out your ideas after the conclusion of the project. The project aims to help you get out of the experience before work loop, where you need experience to get a job, but can't get much experience without a job. With this, we have a 4-week program consisting of 3 workshops in the first 3 weeks, starting tonight, then concluding with a pitch night. The pitch night is where you and your group will present your projects to a panel of industry reps who will judge your projects based on the marking criteria and prompts you've been provided with. After this, the winner for the Big Project 2021 will be declared. So this is the timeline for the Big Project this year. As you can see, it's pretty packed with a workshop every week. These dates should be in the email you received before tonight, so make sure that you mark them in your calendar. In each of these workshops, you'll be taken through an area that may be relevant and helpful to your projects, covering both technical insights as well as soft skills. The first and third workshops will be run by an industry rep who will give you first-hand experience and guidance on their area of expertise. The second workshop will be run by one of our very own executives at TechSoc. Tonight will be our design thinking workshop, aimed to get you into the mindset you need to not only think of an idea worth pursuing, but how you can refine it and begin to really shape these ideas for your projects. Following this, we'll have a technical workshop on prototyping and how you can incorporate it into your projects. We'll be highlighting the important details to consider when prototyping your solutions, along with showcasing how you can build a prototype with Dart and Flutter application development. Following this, we'll have our final workshop, which will be on pitching and presenting. This will cover the key concepts, tips, and tricks required to effectively sell your idea and demonstrate your prototypes to an audience, just like at the pitch night. In the final week, you'll have a chance to showcase your projects at our pitch night. Your projects will be judged by industry representatives based on the submission criteria we've sent out to you. In terms of the pitch night, you should create a slideshow which shows evidence of your thinking and planning. For example, what inspirations did you draw upon? Why have you chosen to develop your app in this OS? Don't stress, you're not expected to have a complete and polished product to present at the pitch night. However, you should showcase a prototype of some sorts in action. This can be done through a number of ways, such as an animation, video, slide-by-slide breakdown, customer flow diagram, or simply whatever works best for your group. Your presentation should be able to clearly walk audiences through your project and your group's journey in creating the prototype. By now, you should have all received an email regarding your challenge prompts. These are what will drive your project, and you should base your projects on them. These can be done implicitly or explicitly, as long as the projects meet the marking criteria which will be used at the pitch night. So to go over the prompts once again. Prompt 1, Having restricted movement or communication is not an easy thing to live through. With this, there have been efforts to connect people online so they can still have some enjoyment in isolation. A number of indie developers have made simple games, apps, and platforms to allow this to happen. What simple idea can bring enjoyment to people during these difficult times? So the key here is enjoyment. So think concepts like connectivity and entertainment. Also consider the factors impacting our well-being and how we can increase the positivity of the situation. Ideas include social media apps, games, or an inspirational quote generator. Prompt 2, with news about the pandemic being a necessity, in an effort to get traction, there are a number of sources which broadcast their taste on the information. With all this, it's very easy to lose track of the facts, and there are often some contradictions. How can the news and key facts be communicated clearly to people with so much traffic present in the industry? Here, communication is the focus with emphasis on clarity. The challenge will be to extract and manage the vast amount of information that's constantly changing. You'll need to consider your target audience in order to convey your message effectively. Example ideas could be a COVID news app, notifications function, or COVID cases map. And finally, prompt 3, COVID-19 has introduced us to the potential of the online world. From the consumer to the business and even to the government, everyone has had to embrace the online change. However, not everyone adjusts so easily to the online environment or takes advantage of the tools the online world has to offer. So how can the online experience be improved for people? This prompt is slightly broader than the previous two in that it focuses on the online environment. Whether this be adjusting to the online setting or using the online capabilities to improve a current process or issue is up to you to decide. Remember to consider your target audience and how the online world can improve their situation. Ideas could include an appointment system, online learning lesson planner, or online focus assistant. Every week, you will receive a newsletter giving you an update from the past week, as well as some tips which may be helpful for your projects. This will be sent to the email you use to sign up to the project. Similarly, we've created a Facebook group for big project members for 2021, where we will also post this information and allow for questions to be asked to both students and us. This should have been included in the welcome email with all the other relevant information. It would be good to take note of your group members if you haven't already and reach out to them. Either sending them an email or adding them on a social media platform is advised. Last year, groups used a number of ways to collaborate, most notably through Discord, Messenger, and WhatsApp. As well as this, to give you some inspiration, last year's winner, UTS News, produced an app that aims to reduce information overload and excessive media consumption by providing just one type of news article at a time. Users search using keywords such as sport and then exclude terms that they don't want to see. Another example is Make a Decision, which is a mobile app that makes a decision for you based on a number of options. Users could create their own options or select from predefined lists. This aimed to solve the problem of infoxication and indecisiveness. So if you have any questions throughout the course of the initiative, feel free to reach out to us via the Facebook group chat or via our TechSoc email, which is on the screen. Huge thank you to everyone who has signed up and expressed their interest. We can't wait to see how you go with your projects. Now, without further ado, I'd like to kick off the big project by passing over to our industry guests from Aginic, Anna, James, and Jordan. Aginic is a management consulting firm that provides services in data analytics, cloud technology, adaptive delivery, and design. I hope you all enjoy the first workshop.
Thank you, Yasmin. That was an awesome introduction. Thanks. We also have a little intro to describe who we are and what we do. I'm going to share my screen now. Just a sec. Here we go. Let me know if you can see the screen. Thumbs up will do. Yeah, awesome. So, yes, my name is Anna, and I have worked at Aginic for almost 5.5 years, or a little bit longer. Let me just check. Did my video just stop?
Yeah, I did.
Let me just check. I might have accidentally turned it off. Just have to go to another window. Don't you love it? Zoom and technology and everything. how weird. I can't find the actual window. I have so many things open. Let me see.
I just sent a request, see if that fixes it.
Oh yeah, stop my video.
Okay.
Okay,
go.
that worked, but I can't see the actual settings anymore. Maybe there's
Oh.
something, I just have to see. Oh yeah, okay, I can. It's all good. But thank you for that. Okay, let's start again. So just quickly going to introduce myself. I've been at Aginic for a while now. I started in 2016 as a designer, and I was the only designer, but we've grown now to a much bigger design team. We're over 10 people now, just designers, but Aginic is about, we're over 80 people now. So we've grown a lot in the last few years. So it's been really exciting. So I work as a designer. My title is creative lead, and yeah, it's been really exciting to see Aginic grow and be part of that experience. I mainly work, I guess, what we do at Aginic is very broad. You can say most of the things that I do is related to experience design, but my background is graphic design. And Jordi, let me hand over to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Jordi. I'm a new addition to the Aginic family. I joined just 3 weeks ago actually, so we'll be learning together a little bit. Very excited to be a part of this, and I hope everyone enjoys it. Up to you, Lee. James, sorry.
Yeah, so I came same time as Jordan as well, 3 weeks ago, and I'm also actually based in Sydney as well, so UTS is very close to home. So it's good to see UTS, flying with this Tech Society, and so looking forward to today's workshop.
Awesome. Okay, let's get into it. So just going to show off the agenda before we jump into a little short intro about Aginic. So we're going to just have a bit of an intro to what we do at Aginic, and then a quick icebreaker. And then we're going to talk a bit about what design thinking is. And then we're going to jump into the fun stuff. So the biggest part of this session, which is the workshop challenge and a few activities. And then we're going to mention a few of our favorite tools that might help you especially for the prototyping stage that you're going to be doing. And if we have time, some Q&A. And I also want to say, feel free to have your cameras on, but if you feel uncomfortable, don't. We encourage it. It's not, you don't have to. We're going to be working in a tool called Miro for this session. So there will be a lot of interactivity on that virtual board, but it's also really nice to be able to look at each other and say hi. Before I kind of jump into intro to Aginic, how many people have heard of or know what design thinking is? And if you have, people that have cameras on, if you have heard of it before, get really close to the camera. But if you haven't, just disappear. Okay, there's a few. No one is disappearing out of frame, it looks like, so that's a good sign. But we will kind of bring up the basics and then go from there. Okay, so a little bit about us at Aginic. So Yasmin already mentioned a few things that we do. So we have three big service areas. So the first one being data and insights, and that means that we specialized in data visualization and advanced data analytics. And that's kind of what the Aginic started doing. And that was the main thing that we were doing at first, really focusing on dashboarding. But since then, it has grown to a lot of different services. And a new big exciting part is what we call digital experience. And that's where we get to really jump in and design with the user in mind. And it could be anything. And often it's some kind of app, or it could be some kind of web portal or something else like a chatbot. And then we also do agile consulting. So we have a bunch of agile and lean coaches who help deliver products and projects. And let's see if we get to the next frame. Yes, I think I skipped one. Just also want to mention that we work in something that we call chapters. So there are different capability areas. So the three of us are in the design chapter, and that's why our background is purple, because right now that's our color. And the data analysts have the pink color, engineering has blue, and delivery has green. And the photo you can see there is from 2019 when we decided to do a human bar chart wearing different colored t-shirts. Back then design actually was yellow. So this is the t-shirt from back then, but we changed to purple now. So we have different chapters, and people from different chapters are combined into what we call squads. So they're usually between 7 to 9 people as a team. So they're cross-functional. So we have different people with different skills working in a team that takes on different projects from start to finish. And we use agile and design thinking as our way of working and as our mindset as we do these things. So that's what we're going to introduce you to very shortly. But first, let's break the ice and let's jump into Miro. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just place a link into the chat. And if you can, hop onto the board and let me know if that works correctly. I might have to change some of the settings, but it should work. Yeah, I can see a lot of people on there. Awesome. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring all of you guys to me. And this is this first frame that we're looking at now is just an intro to Miro. So how many people have used Miro in the past? Looks like maybe 1 or 2. If you have, there's some, if you look at your top right and you can see a little icon, an emoji icon, and you can kind of add little reactions there. So if you have used it before, you can do a little thumbs up or some other, yeah, it looks like a few people have maybe. Awesome. But I think the main thing that we want to mention is that you can add sticky notes by looking at if you're looking at your left and the fourth icon, this little sticky note there, so you can add things and write stuff. And that's the most useful.
Sorry, I was just going to add, you can also get your sticky notes by pressing N.
That's also really good and a bit easier. And yeah, please shout out if anyone else has any cool tips that just can do things faster, just yell out. Awesome. And another thing that we're going to do later is upload. There might be a good shortcut for that as well. But that's another icon. It's towards the bottom of the same screen, and you can upload things from your device or other places. Does anyone have any questions before we jump into the little icebreaker? One thing I just want to mention, at the top right, you can find the reactions icon, and also there you can select raising your hand. So if you have any questions, do that, but also feel free just to yell out, just yell out and interrupt us. We're all good with that. We want to keep this session kind of upbeat and fun. It's pretty late at night, so we don't want anyone to fall asleep. Okay, so let's do the quick exercise. So I'm going to bring everyone to me again. So what we want you to do is use Post-it notes and tell us a bit about yourself. Just let us add your name here on the board. It's kind of nice to know who's been part of this workshop, looking back at it as well. And show us a picture of your spirit animal. So we're going to set a timer, I think, for 5 minutes. and yeah, just go for it. We already added some of ours. So my spirit animal is Budgie. James, I'm kind of curious about your spirit animal. Is it that specific bird or just a bird?
Yeah, it's an albatross.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because they don't really put much effort into flying, so they're quite chill when they're flying. So I feel like that's quite characteristic of me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the goat. Who can come up with the weirdest animal? Oh, I like the snake in the hat. I love the variety. Awesome. Maybe that's it. Has everyone added their names? Let me know with an emoji, thumbs up. But if anyone hasn't, maybe do this emoji. The confused or surprised one, if you still need time. I can still see some things popping up. Awesome. I love the Chrissy, your Minecraft axolot. I don't even know what axolot is, but that's pretty cool. And I have to ask Kevin, is that a hairless cat? Is it? Yeah, there's some good ones, but I love the Rachel's, the snake in the hat. Okay, so let's go to our next little section. And what I forgot to mention is if you want to move back and forth between these frames that we have, you can actually click on the lower left icon. It's called frames, and there you can jump between our different sections. So the next section that we're going to go to is a little intro to design thinking. And James, you want to start off with the intro?
Sure thing. So looks like some of you guys already know what design thinking is, but it's pretty much an approach or a process for creative problem solving with a focus on understanding and designing for the user. And so whenever you guys do your projects, whether it be designing a product or some sort of service or an overall solution, we're using this approach to pretty much identify either new or alternative strategies or solutions to a specific problem or issue that people or one person has, or one party has, sorry. And so we use this approach to kind of, in a way, challenge any assumptions that we have of particular issues or problems. And design thinking really revolves around a deep interest in developing and understanding the person, your user, pretty much. And so it's very much about the end user and seeking to understand the end user. And so in the actual process of it, there's 5 steps, which we will go to the next one. Yeah, thank you. So this is a 5-step process of design thinking, which covers empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. And so firstly, in the empathize phase, you're pretty much empathizing for your user. And so you want to learn about who the user is, get to know who they are, and understand what other particular issues that they have in whatever problem they have. And the next step is actually defining that problem. And so this is where you want to really be able to identify key themes that you found in the data from all the things that you found in the empathize phase. So for example, in each of these steps, there's going to be different methods that you use. So for example, in the empathize phase, you could be using surveys and interviews to actually gather data as well. And then in the define phase, there can be methods. There's something called affinity diagramming, where you can actually sort your data into actual themes as well. And so it will help you kind of establish a goal or a problem statement you can get out of everything. And then you move into the ideation phase. This phase is pretty fun, where you actually come up with your ideas and concepts. And so you can use different methods. So I'll actually give you guys a link after this. But there's methods such as Crazy 8 or brainwriting. And so these are different methods of actually coming up with ideas with a team, which I assume that a lot of your projects are about, is group projects. And then from those concepts, you want to actually make them an actual prototype, something that's actually usable for your users. And so it starts off with your low fidelity prototype. So that might be a paper prototype. And then you want to continue to iterate upon that and get into the more high fidelity prototypes. And then once you've kind of created all those prototypes, you want to be able to test these on actual users. And so, yeah, there's different methods of doing this as well, whether it be A/B testing or interviews There's a method called Think Aloud method. And so all these methods I've been very used to using in uni. And so I will send you a link right now. It's a book called Design, Think, Make, Break, Repeat. You guys may have heard of it, but it's pretty much a book that has tons of methods that you can use for design thinking. And what we want to remember for this whole process is that it's an iterative process. And so it's not just a linear process that you just follow step by step, but there could be times where you have to repeat each step when you're testing something, for example. And so, yeah, that's a little overview of design thinking. Anna or Geordie, did you want to add anything to that?
I think that was really good. I think you covered everything. I think it's really important, iterative part, that sometimes you don't even start with empathizing. You might start in the middle and ideate if you already know a bunch of stuff, and you might jump a bit back and forth. And especially in the testing phase, you probably learn things that didn't work as well as you thought with your prototypes. You might even have to go all the way back to empathize to understand a little bit better, and then go back and jump back to the prototyping to just adjust something and then do the thing all over. So yeah, there's a lot of ways, and a lot of ways you can jump back and forth.
Cool.
So today we're going to focus on the first 3 steps, and we're going to do 3 different activities, and we're doing this very fast. So this is just kind of showing you how things can be done to kind of get a taste on what design thinking is and how you do it. So yes, let's jump into the actual workshop challenge that we have for today. So the challenge or the problem that we want to try to solve is, how can we bring joy to people in lockdown? And this is something I think all of you can relate to at the moment. So hopefully this is something that maybe we can come up with some really cool ideas and just help everyone in Sydney out a bit. So the activity 1 that we're doing is called empathy mapping. And you might have heard of this before. If you have, maybe show us a little emoji or send a message in the chat if you've heard of it. Yeah, there's a few. Awesome. And if you've heard, does that mean that you have actually done this activity before? A couple of people. Awesome. So yeah, so an empathy map is a collaborative method used to visualize what we know about a user, or try to almost walk in someone else's shoes. So we're trying to think or empathize with a person and their life, and trying to map out all the different thoughts and feelings that they have. So in this activity, we're going to do it a little bit differently. So it could either be from your own point of view when we're filling this in, or think of someone that you know might be struggling right now in lockdown, and try to write down how they feel, what they observe, and what they're thinking, and how they behave during lockdown. So let's jump to the next little bit, and I'm going to bring everyone to me so you know where the board is. And this is what it looks like. So we have 4 different sections: see, hear, do, and think and feel. And at the bottom you can see something called pain points, and we can look at that towards the end, but just try to think about what a person in extended lockdown, so this can be from your own point of view, what do you see around you? What does the person hear? What do they do? What are they thinking and feeling? So seeing could just be things around, you know, in your house or apartment, or maybe if you go for a walk in the park, it could be anything, or staring at a screen like we're doing now. Doing, you know, it's anything that you're doing while you're in the lockdown, might be Netflix marathon or other things. So yeah, let's just go for it. I can see people are already starting, so I'm excited. So let's start the timer, Geordie.
Yep, we're giving them 10 minutes for this one.
Yeah, let's set it for 10 minutes, and then we have a bit of time to talk about pain points afterwards.
Okay.
And we can all join in on this. I'm just moving a few things around to make more space for more post-its. The more we have, the better. Also feel free to put some sticky notes outside of each section or just fill on the sides. Doesn't have to be perfectly within the frame.
You done now?
Sorry, Tori. It looks like everyone's pretty finished. I guess is someone still typing, but 10 seconds left. Awesome. It looks really good. There's a lot of information on here. So let's have a look at some of these. So what we want to do now is look at all of this and see what are some big pain points. I can see a couple of post-it notes here that says depression, boring, isolated, fatigued, frustrated. That's definitely a pain point. And there's a few things here that we can drag into pain points to just make it more clear on what are the biggest frustrations and challenges being in lockdown. And a lot of Zoom calls could possibly be a pain point. Sometimes it's good, but I guess if it's too many, it can be a bit exhausting. Conflicting news is another one. And yeah, feel free to drag things down that you think should be down there in pain points. Exercise is probably, I guess it's good if you can exercise while in lockdown, so it could be both good or bad. How do most people feel about that? Do you get enough exercise? If you do thumbs up with the emoji function, or if you don't, maybe do the surprised one. Oh, there's a few thumbs up on the actual Zoom. Yeah, okay, there's a few that don't. Including myself, I don't get enough exercise in lockdown or even sometimes outside of lockdown. So, yes, we have, so there's a few examples here now for pain points. And why we kind of want to keep pain points as a separate thing is that in design thinking, and especially the way we work at Aginic, pain points are little gold nuggets. Like, it sounds pretty bad, but those frustrations that the users have can be really good to dig into. And if we can manage to find solutions for them, it means that we'll improve the whole user experience a little bit, or a lot, depending on what the frustration is. So this little exercise that we often do that is called How Might We? So let's go down to that section here. So what it means is you just turn the phrasing of the pain point around a little bit. So instead of saying, I don't get enough exercise, you can say, how might we get exercise during lockdown? So it more turns it into a more open question, and it makes it a little easier for your brain to kind of, oh yeah, okay, let's brainstorm this and come up with solutions. Because if you think about, oh, we can't do this, we can't do that, and just think about the problem, it's a little bit harder to open your mind up for blue sky thinking. So it's often a good in-between thing to do before you jump into brainstorming. So that's just a little example, but if we look at What's another example? What's maybe one of you just want to yell out, what is the biggest frustration for you at the moment? What's the biggest pain point? Anyone? Or you can write in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to pick one, or it doesn't really matter. Someone is enlarging a lot of Zoom calls. So what if we go with rewriting that one? Okay, so a lot of Zoom call. So that's a problem. So the problem could be too many Zoom calls. So how do we turn that around till how might we? So how might we reduce the Zoom call fatigue? So that could be the question. And then it just flips it around a little bit. So it helps your brain just kind of reset a bit and open up for new possibilities. So let's go to the next little activity. So did everyone bring pen and paper? Do you have it close by? Okay, so this one is just a quick, just write down ideas. And we're going to set the timer for 2 minutes. And you want to write down 20 ideas, or try to write down 20 ideas in 2 minutes. So this is about quantity, not quality. Just try to just do a big brain dump and don't think too hard. Just write stuff like what are possible ideas to solve. Could be any of the pain points that you were thinking of, or it could be specifically for Zoom fatigue. So let's set the timer for 2 minutes and go. So this is just for you. We don't need to look at this. This is just for you. So 2 minutes and start writing. Try to get up to 20. I'm doing the same. I think we're all doing the same. I got 2 ideas, so I need to hurry. Okay, that's time. How did you go? You got a few? I got about 7. But that's enough for what we're doing next. So the next activity is, we're just calling it rapid sketching. There's a lot of different activities you can do when it comes to this brainstorming part. And James mentioned one of them called Crazy Eights. That's a really good one. But what we want to do is, on the list that you just wrote, choose 1 or 2, if you want to, of your best ideas. And what we're going to do is spend 5 minutes to sketch them out on paper. So you get 5 minutes to sketch. And then after that, we want to make sure you take a photo and upload them to the board. that's next to here. And I'll make sure I'll bring you all to that so you know where it is. And there's a little example here. It can be super rough. It should be super rough. It doesn't have to look pretty, just so we can kind of convey an idea and you can kind of talk to it and people understand what it's about. So it's more about that. So yes, let's get into it. So this is the spot where you can upload your drawings, and we're going to do the same. How's everyone going? We'll give everyone a few minutes to upload, but hopefully you finished sketching by now. I can see a few sketches up, so I'm really excited. This is cool. So as people are uploading, let's just chat about some of these. So the sleep keeper. Who added this little thing? Rachel. So if you sleep well consistently, your character becomes happier. That's interesting. So somehow there's an app on your phone. Is that right? I can, yep. I like that. It's almost like, what do you call it? The Tamagotchi. So you have to make sure that, yeah, you have to take care of them. Otherwise they'll die if you don't have enough sleep. That's a cool idea. And how's this one? You for +4 friends every day week record. Anyone want to talk to this one? The exercise dude? I think I can. Oh yeah. Oh, is that Kai? You want to talk to it?
Yeah, sure. So I was like solving the problem of not having enough exercise. So it's like an app that you join with your friends and you have like kind of like you're held accountable by each other to record yourself doing exercise like once a day or once a week, and then that video gets compiled together and then you make like a collaborative video like showing off that you've actually done your work.
Awesome. So how's everyone else going with uploading? If you have any questions, put them in the chat or just, yeah. You can also just raise your voice and have a chat. But yeah, there's a few things popping up. I'm excited. So what's this one? Dopamine. Is that what it says? Dopamine news? I see. So it's like a good news. Is it a good news site? I think that's what it means, but feel free to raise your voice, whoever it was. That's pretty cool. Oh yeah, love that. Awesome. That's a really cool idea. And put a time limit on Zoom. Ah, yep. So you can't, so is it on the actual, like the meeting? You can't have longer than, I don't know, 12 minutes and then that's
Yeah,
it.
that was mine. I thought, especially people in Sydney, completely cutting off Zoom might not be feasible. So if we could put a time limit so that you're not overwhelmed with the amount of Zoom calls and you can take regular breaks.
That's a good idea. The little disco night here was mine. I was trying to combine not getting enough exercise, but also Zoom fatigue and making Zoom a bit more fun to actually just have like disco nights where everyone is dancing in the living room, but you can have the video on or you don't. Maybe there's just, and everyone can maybe share, build a playlist together. Yeah. What is this one? Virtual community garden. I love that. Let me zoom out a bit and see what else is going on. Yeah, for anyone else that have ideas, feel free to add, but I can see a few here. The Gladys workout. Oh, so you do different things depending on what she says in her announcements. Is that what it means? Can I just is a tiny. So that's a, okay. Yeah, that is awesome. And weekly mail packages, activity booklet. Oh yeah, awesome. So instead of having things online, feel free to speak up. And Zoom ads. Oh, ad time, take a break. Interesting. Win-win. Awesome. Thank you so much. But feel free to add more. Everyone who's added sketches, it's fun to look at later as well. But just a bit conscious of time. I think we'll just go to our next little frames before we can open up Q&A. So what we've done is we kind of quickly gone through the 3 first steps, trying to empathize with, a user, and then define the problems. We're looking at the pain points and kind of redefining them. And then we jumped into brainstorming, so the ideation phase. So what you can also do, what's also important to do in the ideation phase is, so together you vote on ideas that you like the most. And then from there, you can still do a bit of sketching or storyboarding, where you kind of do a joint sketch that you agree on, or it could be a joint something else, but just have a joint idea that you agree on, that you want to prototype. And a prototype can be low fidelity or high fidelity. And then you want to test that with users. And there are a lot of different ways you can do. You can test by observing them using the prototype. You could have focus groups and ask the group a lot of different questions. You can do workshops that are very guided, or you can do surveys, send out a survey with a prototype that they can use, and then they fill in a survey. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it. And just want to bring up some of our favorite tools as well. The biggest one would be Figma. This is something that we use a lot in the design team. It's a great prototyping tool. It's really awesome. There's a lot of ways you can design things, and then you can also make a lot of interactive prototypes that, they're only designed visually. You don't need to, build anything from the background. It's just like a visual shell where you can add interactive elements, so the user feels like it's the real thing, like it's an app or it's a website or something like that. And Adobe XD is another prototyping tool that's also, it's kind of similar. The only thing, I guess the difference is that Figma is cloud-based, so you can work a lot of people on the same file. Adobe XD doesn't really work like that yet, I don't think. It might have changed by now. Both of them are free to a certain level. I think Adobe XD is free for as many files as you want, I think. And Figma, I think you get up to 3 free files to work on, and then you have to pay. And digital whiteboards, we love Miro, but there's also another tool called Mural that's kind of similar. I don't think it has as many good features as Miro, but it's pretty similar. And then there's also Google Jamboard. It's actually really great if you just want some quick, simple brainstorming and not too complicated. If you're doing a lot of drawing and sketches that you want to keep, Adobe Capture is really great. It's also a free tool. And the great thing about it, it can turn your drawings into vectors. And that could be really useful if you actually want to use your drawings, as illustrations as part of your designs. And there's a few other digital assets that are great. Blob Maker is this fun free tool where you can just get random blobs that you can download as SVGs or PNGs to use in your designs. Blush is another great thing. I think the website's called blush.design, I think. But there you have access to a lot of free illustrations, just to use as you like in your tools. And tabular icons is something that we've been using recently that's really great to get a bunch of icons. And yeah, I guess another thing that I would mention that we don't have on this list is called, if you want to get a bunch of free photos to use, unsplash.com is great. I'll type it into the chat so you can look it up. There's a few other ones, free sites where you can get nice images. We usually use Unsplash. There's a lot of awesome ones there. Yeah, I think that's it. Anything you want to add, Geordie, James?
Probably not. There's a lot of free resources out there depending on what you're trying to do, and especially as a student, if it's not free, it's probably discounted, so try as much as you can.
There's also the Noun project as well, just for icons as well.
Yeah. Also,
Yes.
platicon.com, there's a bunch.
So I think that's, oh no, that wasn't it. There was one more thing that we wanted to show. So this is just want to give you a taste in what Figma could look like, or what a prototype could look like. So this is just a fake university that we kind of just did a mock-up of what we sometimes do. We often do different types of BI portals, so data visualization apps and things like that. So this is what something could look like as we're prototyping it before we build it. So there's a few different clickable little bits, not everything. There's a few drop downs here, and you can go to different spots in the navigation, and you can see there are different things that happens as you hover over different elements. So, and also not in this particular prototype, but on some other ones you can also scroll up and down, and there's a lot of different things that you can do, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, so if you want to have a look at it and just play around with it, you can just click in the top right corner of the image, and it will open up in Figma, and you can just have a play. Yep. And that's it. Thank you. It was really nice to be invited and do this workshop with you guys. And yeah, thank you for participating and just, going all in. It's been awesome and really fun. So maybe, we can open up for just any questions you might have.
So a huge thank you to Anna, James and Jordan for that insightful workshop. I'm pretty sure I speak for everyone when I say just how interesting it was. The empathy mega map activity in particular is really great and definitely got the groups thinking about what they can do for their own projects. We'll now move on to some Q&A with the 3 industry reps, so be sure to type your questions in the chat if you have any.
I see one in the chat. How much of this do you do for your work things at Aginic? So do you mean how much of the workshop that we just did? These kind of exercises? Each step. Yeah, so we do something very similar. We actually do these kind of exercises a lot. They're a little bit different because what we ran with you is something that we do with just as a kind of introduction to design thinking, and kind of have the question a little bit broader than we usually do. So we do use these type of activities with clients for, say, data analytics projects, and we do a version of the empathy map, but it's a little bit more customized to kind of suit different types of job roles that we want to understand within a company to understand what they need to visualize. That could be one thing, but we kind of use a lot of different tools, and these are some of them, but we try to adapt to the client as much as we can. But we use design thinking a lot because in most projects we do something called a discovery, and a discovery is often lasts 2 weeks. And in that time, we do a few design thinking workshops, but we also do other workshops to kind of guide the clients, especially clients who hasn't done Agile before, to make them understand the process and show them how we work. And we work using Scrum and working in 2-week sprints, so all of that. But design thinking is a big part to kickstart a project and to prototype something before we build it. So we do that a lot. The next question, regard to the test phase of the design thinking process, what tools, resources do you three recommend we use for that section? There's a lot of tools out there. There are some tools that you can use with Figma. I can't remember exactly what they're called now, but I can send off an email with a list of things. But there's a few ways you can do it. But mostly when we do testing, we actually do it with users in the room, or since last year, often, in remote workshops. So we often work with a focus group that are the end users, and we get feedback from them throughout the project. But there are so many other ways. James, maybe you want to add some?
Yeah, well, I personally haven't done testing yet at Aginic. So for context, I'm part of Aginic Ventures. And so that's like sort of like a sister company to Aginic, where Aginic is very much focused on more the consulting side of things, but Aginic Ventures is more focused on product design. And so what Aginic Ventures does is it pretty much helps startups get into the market. And so recently I was part of a branding workshop for one of our partners. We call them partners because they work very close with us in these workshops. And so although it wasn't testing, we got to actually see what kind of ideas that they wanted for their brand. And so there was one exercise where we actually had to come up with ideas for the name of their product or their brand. And so that gave us a chance to actually talk about it. And so what Anna was saying is it's very, when it comes to testing, I feel like it's very conversational with the clients and the partners that come to Aginic and Aginic Ventures. But yeah, in terms of tools, I'd say, I think because of a lot of the things here are UI, I'd say Figma is like one of the most popular ones to go, and it's probably the most versatile out of other tools. But yeah, that's what I can think of right now. But yeah.
Yeah, any other questions? I don't know if I missed anything in the chat. Let me know, Yasmin or Kai, please. Is there a suggested timeline for the design thinking and ideation stages? It all depends on what you're doing. I guess in the discovery phase, we have a bit of, depending on what it is, sometimes, often when we do ideation, so if we just look at the ideation stage, it would probably be between an hour and a half to a 2-hour workshop we do with the client, and everyone gets into the sketching phase, and we do spend a lot of time on the joint storyboarding to make sure we actually know what we're going to prototype, or what the starting point of the prototype is going to be, and everyone is agreeing on it. So we usually do everything pretty quickly to show results quickly, and make sure we can go back and change things up. So I think a big reason we try not to spend too long on anything and just do it quickly means that we can quickly just go back and check and get feedback and then improve it a little bit. So we try not to get stuck in one point and perfect things. It's more important to just kind of show something and then learn what can be improved and then continuously improve. What's your favorite part of the design thinking process? My favorite part, okay, we can all say what our favorite part is, but I think my favorite part is the ideation. That is really awesome. I love doing it. It's really nice to do it in person when you have everyone in a room, and you get everyone to sketch and everyone gets excited, and sometimes we have colored pens and everything, and you even get the CEO of a big company to get excited and start sketching things. And it's nice to, what I really like about it too is that it invites both extroverts and introverts to have a voice, because often when we start discussing a project in a discovery and discuss a vision and everything, it's more maybe people sometimes have a bigger voice that gets heard, but in the ideation phase, it's really everyone can just throw their ideas on paper and put it up on a wall, and that's really nice to see. James, Geordie, do you have any favorite parts of design thinking?
Probably the ideation as well. It's definitely the most hands-on, so I find it the most fun.
Yeah, I'd say ideation is pretty fun, but I also find the empathize phase to be probably the most interesting, because I think I get to actually understand what people's problems are with particular, I guess, services or products. So I think that's, yeah, pretty interesting just at the start, actually finding out what are people actually struggling with or have an issue with. And I think just when I find that out, I think it's like quite encouraging. Yeah.
Sneaky question. What's the culture like at Aginic? Cool. Maybe I'll let the newbies answer that.
It's very chill. Lots of coffee runs and collaborations. Very nice.
Yeah, everyone's like super supportive. I think like the whole onboarding process was pretty smooth, and yeah, I think Aginic are very focused on developing their employees, and so for example, there's a lot of kind of mentoring as well going on, and so I think that's really important, especially for designers.
Yeah, I have been at Aginic for almost 6 years now, and that's the longest I've ever been at one place. And there's a reason for that, because I really love the people and the culture, and it's very different from all the places I've been before. It's yeah, it's much more relaxed, it's much more open, but what I really like about it is that there are always new opportunities and you can shape your own path. So, and also we really value learning. So there's always continuous learning within the work you do, but also you get dedicated time to do learning and development every week, which is pretty awesome. Another question. It sounds like a lot of the design thinking process requires you to not think so critically, but just to have ideas. Any advice on how someone can shift more into that mindset? Do you mean the design thinking mindset or the critical thinking mindset? Oh, okay. So, yeah, okay. So if you're a more critical person, is it more about thinking about, okay, yeah, it's an interesting question. I guess the more you do design thinking, I think you get more used to it, because when I started doing it in the beginning, it wasn't as easy, like the ideation phase, but all the other phases, trying to imagine yourself as someone else and trying to really think about what other people, assume what other people are thinking and feeling, but also learn about others and trying to understand others. And also when you're interviewing and listening to others. So I think that takes a little bit of time. But also doing these collaborative activities really help, because even though you have a critical thinking mindset, that could be really useful sometimes, especially when it comes to voting on ideas and then moving forward with something that actually makes sense. Like I'm more of a big picture, crazy dream kind of person. I need someone to tell me sometimes that's not possible. So you kind of need different types of characters in the room. You can't just be the big dreamers, because then you might end up with a prototype that no one can build.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that as well. I think yeah, I think it just like takes time to do that as well. And I think I'm doing that as well. But I think like I've been recently been reading some books about like agile startups, and I recommend reading the Lean Startup and also Design Sprint as well. I think they're very insightful in actually looking at how it's not about just making like a product that looks amazing or works amazingly, but we want to make sure that the product is, we're trying as fast as possible to figure out if this product is actually usable and in the most shortest amount of time, so that we're not actually wasting time, you know, like designing all these things for like 2 months and then we figure out, oh, like this app is actually pretty useless even though it looks nice. And so yeah, I think just that process and that mentality, I think definitely is applied in Aginic as of the mindset of being agile. So yeah, definitely recommend checking those books out as well.
Yeah, I agree. Both of those books are really great. So if you can have a look, the Design Sprint, I know if you just Google it, they have a pretty good website with a lot of tips on there, so you don't have to buy the book. And there's a few videos as well. Yeah, any other questions? It's been awesome. Thank you so much for just being so active on the Miro board. And yeah, it's been really fun tonight. So thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, so this brings us to the end of our launch and first workshop for the Big Project 2021. Huge thank you to our industry reps from Aginic. Once again, it was a pleasure having you on board with this project and running workshop 1 tonight. It's been a really informative start to the big project, and we can't wait to see how you all use what you've learned here to start your projects. Have a great night, and thank you again for joining us.
Cool. Cheers, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you. See ya.
Yeah. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again, guys.
Thank you.